Hello, welcome back. Chapter 4. This is truly beautiful, Jocelyn said and meant it. Ramsey had gone to a lot of trouble with the dinner, and she appreciated it. There was an old, white, trap-and-toed quilt on the floor of the hallway and two huge pillows on each side. The meal was angel hair pasta in a light sauce of sauteed tomatoes and basils, with bread and salad. Did you get the vegetables from Sarah's mother? She asked. Of course. If I brought tomatoes that didn't come from her, I think she might picket my office. The dishes were, excuse me, the dishes were flamingos in one of her favorite patterns, and the wine glasses had to have come from Colonial Williamsburg. They were hand-blown in an 18th century design. Ramsey was stretched out on a pillow opposite her, and in the candlelight he looked even more handsome than he did when she first met him. The truth was that he made her a bit nervous. There was something about the absolute perfection of him that made her wish she were more perfect. Why is there so little furniture in the house? Joss asked. She was sitting upright on the opposite side of the quilt. I don't mean to sound greedy, but it seems strange that a house that's been lived in for so many generations would have so little in it. If I'd guessed, I would have said it was packed to the gills with at least a lot of Victorian ornaments. In the word Bertrude, Ramsey said. He'd finished his pasta and was sipping the white wine. I don't really know too much about it, as my father personally handled Miss Etty, but Dad always muttered things under his breath whenever old Bertrude's name was mentioned. I think he had a problem with the horses. Your father gambled? Joss asked. Ramsey looked at her to see if she was kidding. Sorry, my sense of humor, she said. So Bertrand had a gambling problem. Ramsey looked at her over the wine glass. He had some kind of problem. At least I think he did. I never really knew Miss Etty, but from what I heard of her, it always struck me as odd that she let him sell off most everything that was in this house. I remember when I was a kid and a huge truck pulled up in the front of the house. It got through those narrow gates? Good eye, he said. No truck can get through those pillars. Luke's pickup truck had been scraped on them more than once. Ramsey took a drink of wine, then got up to begin clearing away the remnants of the pasta and salad. When Joss started to help him, he told her to sit still. She waited while he carried the plates into the kitchen, and when he returned, he had a little machine that looked like a fondue pot. My sister assures me that this thing is perfect for melting chocolate. She says her second child was conceived the night they brought it. He looked at her. Sorry, bad story for a first date? You forgiven, but only if you tell me about the moving van. Oh, yes. They had to park it in the road, and a smaller truck carried furniture out to it. It was a Saturday, and all of us kids nearly drove the movers crazy. We were in the truck, in the house, even hiding inside cabinets that they had to carry. They were ready to throw us all into the pond. What did your parents say? Wasn't that dangerous? They were right there watching everything, and the adults who couldn't be there to watch paid us to run to their house every hour and tell them what was going on. Sarah was the fastest on her bike, so she delivered the messages. You know, I still think she didn't split the money fairly. I think she kept most of it for herself. The cousins, Joss said, smiling. All for one, one for all. He broke pieces of chocolate into the little pot that he plugged in and was now stirring them around. I think it was fun when we were kids, but now I find it more than a little confining. Like today, I really apologize about what? Joss didn't want to hear another word about Luke and the mustard. What did they take away in the van? The good stuff? You mean the yellow couch, the end tables, the big armoire, the 4 chairs in the dining room? Joss said. It was all in Miss Etty's house in Florida. I believe she sold what she didn't send back here at auction. I know she did. And the money? Nope, Ramsey said. I'm not saying a word about business tonight, which means that you have to come to my office first thing Monday morning so I can tell you everything. I bet there are contingencies concerning the house, aren't there? Ramsay shook his head at her. Don't try to get round me. I'm not saying a word. All right, she said, sipping her wine. So Miss Eddie took the good furniture and left the bad stuff for her brother to sell to pay his gambling debts? My mother says she thought Miss Eddie used her brother to run a big yard sale. It saved her money and gave him something to do. That sounds like her. There, Ramsay said, the pot is ready. Take one of these. He held out a little box full of long forks and spear one of these. He opened the container of fat, perfectly ripe strawberries. Then dip. She did so. Delicious, really wonderful. I feel pregnant already. When he didn't say anything, she looked at him. Yet again, my dumb sense of humor. No, I like it. It's just that I'm not used to beautiful girls who can make jokes. They don't have to. They just sit there and that's enough. I meant, he began, then smiled. I'm coming off as a moron. It's just that I want this night to succeed. Jocelyn wiped chocolate off her chin. It's succeeding to me. Hey, thanks for fixing the bedroom for me. The bedroom? You know, linen, soap, that sort of thing. I would have had to spend the night elsewhere if you hadn't done that. You did do it, didn't you? Afraid not. Probably some of the ladies from the church. Speaking of which, I saw a church when I drove in. Miss Eddie and I went every Sunday and I miss it. Church? Ramsay said, as though he never heard of the place before. If you show up in church on Sunday, my mother is going to think you're so perfect that she's going to go out and buy us wedding rings. That bad, huh? Are you kidding? I'm 32 and haven't produced a kid. What about your sister and your other siblings? It's just the two of us, Ramsay said, and my mother isn't content with the brood that Viv produced. She wants kids from me too. From the way he was looking at her, Jocelyn didn't know whether to fall into his arms or push him out the door and bolt it. I wear a size 5 ring and I want a 4-carat emerald cut pink diamond. This time, Ramsay groaned. You tell her that and I'm a goner. Does Sarah make wedding dresses? If she does, I have some ideas about mine. Ramsay laughed. No, really. You think Sarah's mom could get enough white roses together for me that I could fill the church? Stop it, he said, laughing. Really, we can't talk about this or my mother will somehow hear it and show up at the door. If you had any idea what I go through, he cut himself off. What I want to hear about is you and Miss Eddie. We were kindred souls, Jocelyn said. She opened her mouth to start telling him her life story, but she stopped herself. If she told everything tonight, what would they talk about on the second date? And she truly hoped there would be a second date because she liked him. Okay, Ramsay said, keep your secrets, but I'll get them out of you. As she watched, he got up off the pillows and standing up, he stretched. His shirt clung to the muscles in his chest and arms, and Joss couldn't pry her eyes away. When he caught her looking, she quickly turned away, but it wasn't fast enough to keep her from being embarrassed. Do you play golf? He asked. What? Golf. Do you play? No. Tennis? He asked. Sorry, no tennis. And before you ask, I don't swim very well and I don't play bridge and I'm not good at clubs. So what do you like to do? He asked. No, wait, don't tell me. Let me find out. You must do something besides dream about your wedding. Not much. Smiling, he began to clear up the dishes, but this time Joss helped. So what do you imagine the groom looking like? Blonde, blue-eyed, she said instantly, and Ramsay laughed. I deserve that. He put the dishes on the big kitchen table and looked around him. You must want to redo this kitchen. There were 3 naked light bulbs hanging from the ceiling, and the light glared off everything, making it almost eerie in the room. How could you even think of changing this room? She said in mock horror. How about a marble top island instead of this table? He asked, looking at her. And a new sink, of course. She looked at the sink and felt a pang at the thought of its going. It was huge and on legs with two enormous bowls with a tall porcelain back and drain boards on both sides. She looked away from it. Are you asking me if I can cook? Before he could answer, she said, I can't. Miss Eddie had a woman who'd worked for her for over 20 years, and she cooked wonderful meals. Meanwhile, at my parents' house, well, the less said about there, the better. But I can make cupcakes. Cupcakes? It was a project I did in school, and Miss Eddie let me use her kitchen. I can even use a pastry tube. That's good, he said, but his voice sounded dubious, and for a while there was a silence between them, and Jocelyn suppressed a yawn. It had been a very long day. Look, I think I better go, he said. It's getting late. Shall I pick you up for church tomorrow? If you and I walked into church together, we would be mated for life. She was making a joke, but he didn't smile. I've heard of worse things. Yeah, me too, she said, but she didn't meet his eyes. How about if I meet you there? 10 a.m., right? If you miss Sunday school, it is, and I usually do. Late sleeper? No, late worker, he said. I have about 3 hours of paperwork to do tonight. Really? Yes, he said. Could I help? For a moment, he looked puzzled, as though he were trying to figure out if she was again joking. Thanks, but no. We're handling a big divorce case, and I'm trying to find some missing money. How could a man afford to pay cash for a $3 million house if he only makes 60 grand a year? At least that's the question his wife wants to know. I'm not good on money, she said, but I could. I've done a lot of research, so if you ever need help on that, let me know. And cupcakes? He said, smiling. We can't forget the cupcakes. I never forget the cupcakes, she said, but her smile was forced. When he reached for a plate, she said, just leave everything and I'll clean up tomorrow. You need to go to work and get as much done as possible so you can go to church in the morning. Thanks, he said, then seemed not to know what else to say. So, I'll see you in church then? If you can pull yourself out of bed, she said. He started toward the front door and she followed him. He opened it, then paused, and for a moment she thought he was going to kiss her. But then he stepped onto the little porch. Thank you for everything, she said. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, he said as he went down the steps. Me too. Jocelyn closed the door and leaned against it. What in the world was wrong with her? She had a very romantic date with the man, the one Miss Eddie said was to be the love of her life. But somehow she ruined it. She didn't know how, but she had. Of course her lame jokes about marriage didn't help. It's a wonder he didn't run out the door. What was it he said on the phone? That the last time a woman talked to him about marriage, they had to call an ambulance? She looked at her watch. It was only 9:30. So much for her date. In spite of the early hour, she yawned. Maybe the problem was that she was exhausted. Meeting new people, seeing the house, having a date all in one day was too much for anyone. She left the dirty dishes on the table, flipped the switch to turn out the awful kitchen lights, then started towards the stairs to go to bed. It was when she passed the back door and heard it click that her heart leaped into her throat. Someone was at the door, and he was trying to break in. Jocelyn's mind raced as she tried to remember where her cell phone was. Upstairs, or was it downstairs? She couldn't remember. Had the landline been hooked up? In the busyness of the day, she never even looked for a telephone. Someone pulled on the door, and she plastered herself against the wall, her heart beating hard. Bending, she moved under the window by the door so the intruder couldn't see her as she crawled past. If she could get to the front door before he did, she could get out. As she got past the door, she saw a shadow. Then the moonlight showed her a figure. He was big. He had dark hair. She stood up straight. It was Ramsey. He must have forgotten something. She grabbed the doorknob and pulled it inward and came face to face with Luke. "What are you doing?" He looked more surprised to see her than she did him. "Checking the doors," he said. "I thought you might forget to lock them, so Sarah leaves her doors unlocked. I thought this was one of those towns where no one locks their doors." "Don't kid yourself," he said, then took a step back. "Look, I'm sorry. There weren't any lights on, so I thought you'd gone to bed." "Were you watching the house?" "That's what I do," he said. "That's my job, remember? Weren't you told about me? Or are you still mad about the mustard?" She dropped her hostility. "No, I know that was an accident. Would you like to come in and have some tea?" "With you and Ramsey?" "Like you don't know that he left 10 minutes ago," she said. He gave her a crooked smile, then stepped inside. The quilt and the candlesticks were still on the floor, along with the chocolate pot and some strawberries. "So, did you kick him out?" "No, I didn't kick him out. He had to go home to work." Bending over, he ran his finger inside the still warm pot. Then he put his chocolate-covered finger in his mouth. "That makes sense. I guess that's why he went to Tess after he left you." Josh stopped walking and turned to look at him. He had the pot in his hand and was running a strawberry through it. "He did what?" "Went to see his assistant Tess. She lives next door. She runs his life." "I've already been told that. But he's there now?" "Sure," Luke said, raising his eyes to her. "Who told you about Tess? Not Rams, that's for sure." "What does that mean?" She started for the kitchen again. "Come on," she said over her shoulder, "and bring that if you want." "Thanks," he said as he followed her, the cord to the pot dragging across the floor. "I thought that maybe tomorrow you and I could talk about what you want to do with the garden." "I don't know anything about gardening." She was opening cabinet doors, looking for a teapot and tea bag, something. "This tea is too much trouble for you. Really, I didn't mean to bother you. I'll get something to eat on the way home. They have a few fast food places over in Williamsburg, off the highway. It's not too far away. Couple of hours, that's all." She couldn't help laughing. "All right, sit down," she said, and he did. He took the container of leftover pasta out of the old refrigerator and stuck it in the ancient microwave. "What makes you think that Rams didn't tell me about his secretary?" She tried to seem as though she didn't care, and she used his nickname to sound closer to him. "I take it you haven't met Tess?" Luke said as he got up, went to the cabinet, then reached over her head to get a plate. He took a knife and fork out of a drawer. Jocelyn hadn't looked in the cabinets, so she didn't know where anything was. "No, I haven't met her, but I've heard about her from Sarah. She tell you about the red dress?" "What is it with this woman in a low-cut red dress?" Josh asked as she opened the microwave. "Sure you want to hear?" "I'm all grown up. I think I can stand it. What happened with the secretary and a dress?" Luke took the bowl of pasta from her, dumped it on the plate, and put it on the table. "Want some?" "No, thank you. I ate earlier with Ramsey, remember?" "Oh, yeah. You were together such a short time that I nearly forgot about the date. It was a date, wasn't it?" Josh didn't bother to answer him, but poured some wine into a glass and took a sip. "Sorry, but that's the last of it," she said. But her tone let Luke know she wasn't sorry at all. What was it about this man that put her in the worst possible mood? Or was her mood caused by the fact that Ramsey had made her think they were on the way to becoming an item, then he gone next door to another woman? Luke got up, opened the refrigerator, and got out a beer. "You certainly have made yourself at home in my house. I'm here a lot, so you better get used to me." He tasted the pasta. "This is pretty good. Did Rams make it? He always was a good cook. He can even make worm pies. You should get him to tell you about them." "Before or after you tell me about the red dress?" "Oh, yeah, that," Luke said, his mouth full. "Tess doesn't take well to being given orders. The way she sees it, she does her job, and that's all that's required of her. Anything else is her own business. Don't we all feel that way? Joss asked. She sat down in a chair across from him. Not to the extent Tess does, but Rams always was a bit of what we all call down here persnickety. This country, y'all. I see, Jocelyn said with a cool smile. He can cook, and now he's a persnickety. What will you tell me next? He used to be a female? Not that I know of, Luke said innocently. Did he tell you he wanted to be? I hear there are some really good clinics for that kind of thing nowadays. Not that I know anything about them, but I bet old Rams know about a lot. Joss couldn't keep from laughing. You're horrible. Just tell me the story. Luke ate a few more bites and said, it was simple, really. Rams told Tess he didn't like what she was wearing. She didn't take it off, did she? Is that what the secretaries do in law offices in Florida? If so, I'm in the wrong state. She narrowed her eyes at him. No, she didn't remove anything. It was just after she started working at MAW. I know what it is. Go on. You certainly have picked up on a lot around here. So anyway, Tess had only been there about 6 weeks, but already she straightened out the whole office. She fired 2 secretaries and made the 2 she kept actually work. It was a true revelation to my cousin Rams, a woman who did some work to earn what she was paid. Does he know you talk about him like this? Did he tell you about me? I am happy to say that we never spoke a single word about you all night. Hour and a half? Luke waved his fork around. I mean, technically speaking, it wasn't really a whole night. It was just an hour and a half. He is petty. And I like it. Pretty short date, wasn't it? Now, if it hadn't been me taking a woman out, yeah, I know, you would have made love on the blue corn chips. Get on with the story about Ramsey. To make love on a bed of blue corn chips? Now, there's something I haven't tried. Do you know about this from experience? My experience is none of your business. What did Ramsey do? He didn't do anything. He's more of a talker than a doer. Now me? Okay, stop looking at me like that. Anyway, all the men in the office were pleased with Tess in every way. I mean, she's smart and sassy and did whoever told you about her tell you that she's drop dead gorgeous? No, Jocelyn said, but didn't elaborate. She is a real knockout. Sometimes when she walks across the lawn, I have to shut off the mower and just sit there and watch her. But anyway, Rams wasn't happy with what he had. As usual with him, he wanted more. Always more. He called her into his office with what he said was an evaluation and told her that her work was excellent, but he wasn't too pleased with what she wore. He didn't like her jeans and shirts, and he hated the cowboy boots. He told her that he wanted her to start wearing dresses to work. No more trousers. Jocelyn leaned back in the chair, her eyes wide. What in the world did she do? Wore a dress. Any more of that garlic bread left? Jocelyn got up and handed him the basket. Sarah said low cut and you said red. So what was the dress like? I wasn't in town that day, so I didn't get to see it. But hang on a minute. He leaned back in his chair and pulled his cell phone out of the little case on his hip. I have to keep this with me at all times because I'm a volunteer with the fire department. He pushes a few buttons. Ah, here it is. This is what my cousin Ken sent me. He's the W in MAW. Jocelyn took the phone and looked at the photo. It was of a woman in a red dress, except that there was very little of the garment. It was shorter than the steps shortest, and the sides were open to the waist, as was the front. The woman's face was turned away so she couldn't see it, but her legs, auburn hair fell in fat curls past her shoulders, and her body was magnificent. I see, Josh said as she handed the phone back to him. Yeah, that's what everyone said that day. I see. The worst thing is that Rams had some of those blue bloods coming in from Williamsburg that day, and they saw Tess in the dress. But Ken said they took it pretty well when their mouths hung open. Tess told them that Ramsey didn't like her usual attire, so he told her to wear a dress, and she did. After that, Rams was the butt of a lot of jokes. And now I guess Tess wears whatever she wants to. Tess does what she wants to do, and no one ever even makes a suggestion that she should do otherwise. And that's where Ramsey went after he left me. He usually does, Luke said. He held up the cord to the chocolate pot. You wouldn't mind plugging this in, would you? She looked for an outlet, but when she couldn't find one, he got an extension cord out of the drawer and plugged it into the overhead light. The dangling cord was ugly, but it worked. Join me? He asked as he dipped a strawberry into the chocolate, but she shook her head no. She wondered what Ramsey was doing next door. Thinking about old Rams? Luke asked. When she didn't answer, he said, So what's the deal with you and my cousin? Are you one of those women who set her cap for him and you plan to be Mrs. McDowell by the end of the year? No, I haven't set my cap for him. What an old-fashioned phrase. Have you finished those strawberries yet? It's late and I like to go to bed. I'm going to church tomorrow. Rams picking you up? Suddenly, Jocelyn didn't like what was going on. She didn't want to walk into church tomorrow and have people looking at her as though they knew she had visited from 2 men in one night. More important, she didn't want to become embroiled in whatever was going on between these two cousins. It was obvious that Luke's only interest in her was Ramsey's attention. You know, I think I've said more than enough about my personal life. I think that if you continue to work here, you and I should get some things straight. From now on, I'll check my own locks so you don't have to skulk around my house late at night. This is late to you? She ignored his question. Second, I like you to keep your nose out of my life. This is a small town, and if you and I start, she waved her hand to the whole scene of the two of them in a almost dark kitchen. I just don't think it's good for this to happen again. Sure, he said as he swung his long legs out of the chair. Sorry to have bothered you. Jocelyn hadn't meant to be so cold, and she certainly didn't want to alienate someone who worked for her, someone she was going to see daily, but at the same time, she thought it was better not to start any gossip. She followed him to the back door, ready to lock it after he left. He paused on the doorstep. Tell me, Miss Minton, he said formally, you had a date with my cousin tonight, but I wonder what you would say if I asked you out. She took a step further back into the house. Luke, you seem like a nice man, and from what little I saw of the garden, you do a good job. But I don't think that you and we're not. I understand, he said, then tugged on the front lock of his hair and bent his head to her in an old-fashioned way. Good night, Miss Minton, he said, then went down the stairs and disappeared into the night. Jocelyn shut the door, locked it, then leaned against it. What a day, she thought. Too much, too fast. She went up the stairs to her bedroom and once again smiled at the clean bed. Tomorrow at church, she'd have to find out who made this welcome for her and thank them. She tried to keep herself from doing it, but she looked out the window to the driveway below. Ramsey's car was still there, so he was still with Tess. The drop-dead gorgeous Tess. Jocelyn washed her face, slathered on moisturizer, put on her nightgown, and climbed into bed. Her first thought was of Luke. She wasn't naive enough not to know that everything he'd done tonight was one of those male competitions over a female. Luke made her feel like a female deer with two rutting stags fighting over her. From what she could piece together, Ramsey and Luke had been competing over everything their entire lives. So now she was the new trophy, brand new in town, knew nothing and no one, new owner of the big house. Yes, sirree, Bob. She was the prize to beat all prizes. She knew Luke was part of the contest, but the question was whether Ramsey was or not. Of the two men, she certainly liked Ramsey better. He'd gone to a great deal of trouble to prepare a meal for her and create a romantic setting in her barren, lonely house. On the other hand, Luke had lied about locks needing to be checked so he could gain entry into her house late at night. Then he pretty much helped himself to the meal Ramsey had prepared. As far as she could tell, Ramsey was a giver and Luke a taker. All in all, as she started to go to bed, she thought about what Luke had said as he was leaving. Not that Luke had seriously asked her out. She had a vision of him in a bar laughing with his 50 or so other cousins about how he'd taken Ramsey girl away from him. Old Rams didn't even see it coming. She could almost hear him say, "I just swooped in and stole her right from under Ram's nose." The vision was so unsettling that she hit the pillow with her fist and stared up at the ceiling. If Ramsey won her, would he do the same thing at a cocktail party? She could see Ramsey at a country club raising his glass of single malt as he said to a group of men, "And here's to yet another trumping, my cousin." When Joss heard Ramsey's car start, then drive away, she thought, and there's another problem. This test sounded much close to Ramsey for her liking. Tonight when Luke showed her test photo, Jocelyn had felt downright jealous. Jealous? What truly absurd emotion? Jealous of what? A man she met just that night? A man who may or may not have been using her in some stupid contest with his cousin? When the car was gone, Joss felt her body relax, and that made her even more angry. She'd been tense because a man she just met had been in the apartment of another woman. "Okay, Jocelyn," she told herself, "you need to get a life. Before you even so much as think about a man, you need to get a life." The room was quiet and she eventually drifted off to sleep. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 4. I don't know if it's too early to have my thoughts about what Miss Eddie did to Jocelyn, because I'm feeling like it's some psychological thing that may be good or may not be good, because like she said, she just met Ramsey and she got this emotion of jealousy, all because Miss Eddie told her that he's going to be her future husband. It seems as if Jocelyn don't have a mind of her own and she's going off of what Miss Eddie's trust and stuff like that, instead of her natural feelings, or, hopefully you get what I'm saying. I don't know if it's too soon to think that way. Anyway, let's see what happens. I'll see y'all in chapter 5. Bye for now.